Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm James, and I'm so glad you're here today. If you're new to the channel, a big warm welcome to you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our exciting lessons. Here on Learn English 24/7, our mission is to help you learn and master English in a way that's fun, easy, and, most importantly, effective. Today, we have something truly special lined up, and I'm really excited to share it with you. We'll be focusing on how to speak English correctly. Yes, you heard that right. A lot of us have been there, struggling with pronunciation, forming proper sentences, or even just being nervous about speaking. Well, this video is here to help with exactly that. So, in today's lesson, we're diving into one of the best ways to improve your English speaking skills, using stories. Yes, you heard me right. We're going to explore how stories can actually make your English sound natural, improve your pronunciation, and build your vocabulary step by step. This is not just about grammar or vocabulary alone. We'll also focus on how to speak fluently and correctly, just like a native English speaker. Now, let me tell you why learning English through stories is so powerful. When you listen to or read a story, you're not only learning new words but also absorbing sentence structures and understanding how native speakers connect their thoughts. Whether it's a simple conversation or a more complex situation, stories help you see how English works in real-life contexts. By the end of this video, you'll feel a lot more confident and capable of using English in your everyday conversations. Let me share a little personal experience with you. When I first started learning English, I remember feeling self-conscious, especially when it came to speaking. I was always worried about making mistakes and not sounding correct. My vocabulary wasn't great, and sometimes I would say things and not really understand if they were right. But everything changed when I started learning through stories. Suddenly, I was able to build my vocabulary in a fun and natural way. I noticed that my confidence grew because I wasn't just memorizing words, I was learning how to use them in context. It wasn't an overnight transformation, of course, but with consistent practice and the help of stories, my speaking improved rapidly. I could finally understand how native speakers were using English in different situations, and I wasn't afraid to speak anymore. That's what I want for you too. Learning English doesn't have to be stressful, it can be a journey full of discovery and excitement. I'm here to show you exactly how to make that happen. So, what are you going to learn today? Well, in this video, we'll be going over a graded reader, which is just a fancy way of saying we'll use simple, easy to understand stories that will help you improve your English step by step. These stories will help you understand how to pronounce words correctly, build sentences, and even improve your overall flow when speaking. We'll also be covering some practical tips on how to practice pronunciation and how to start speaking naturally without overthinking. Whether you're just beginning your English journey or you've been studying for a while and want to fine-tune your skills, this video is going to be really useful for you. You're going to learn how to sound more natural when speaking, how to understand different sentence structures, and most importantly, how to speak with confidence. I'm so excited to dive in with you, so grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's start learning. Once upon a time, in a bustling city, there lived a young man named Ali. Ali was like many people around the world. He had dreams, goals, and a passion for learning new things. However, there was one thing that always held him back: his English. Despite being good at reading and writing, Ali felt nervous every time he had to speak in English. Whenever he went to a meeting at work or tried to have a conversation with friends who spoke English fluently, he would freeze up. His mind would go blank, and he wasn't sure if the words he wanted to say were coming out correctly. He knew the vocabulary, he knew the grammar, but something about speaking in English made him feel uncomfortable. Have you ever felt like that? Maybe you've been in a similar situation where you could read or write English well, but when it came time to speak, you became unsure of yourself. That's exactly how Ali felt. He knew that to grow in his career and social life, he needed to overcome this fear, but he didn't know where to start. One day, Ali came across a story that changed everything. It was a simple story, easy to follow, but the more he read it, the more confident he became in his speaking. The characters in the story used simple phrases and everyday language that felt natural. As he read aloud, he started mimicking the characters' conversations. At first, it felt awkward, but with every page, Ali began to speak more smoothly. He started learning the rhythm of the language and how words and phrases connected naturally. One of the key things Ali noticed was how easy it became to pronounce the words correctly. Before, he would struggle with how to say certain sounds or words, but in the context of the story, he started to hear how the words were spoken. He started to notice the flow of the sentences, and slowly, he could speak without overthinking every word. As Ali continued reading these simple stories, he began practicing with a friend who was a native English speaker. He was amazed at how quickly his speaking improved. His friend told him, "Ali, you sound more confident. Your pronunciation is better, and your sentences are smoother." Ali couldn't believe it. What had seemed impossible before was now becoming a reality. You see, Ali's story is one that many of us can relate to. English can be a challenging language to master, especially when it comes to speaking. But like Ali, you too can overcome this challenge with the right approach. And that approach, as we'll see in today's video, is learning through stories. Stories are powerful tools for improving your spoken English because they give you real-world examples of how to use the language naturally. Unlike textbooks, which focus on grammar rules and isolated vocabulary, stories provide context. They show you how native speakers connect words and ideas in everyday situations. By listening to or reading stories, you not only improve your vocabulary and pronunciation but also understand sentence structures and the flow of conversation. Just like Ali, you can start by reading simple stories and practicing speaking them aloud. This will help you get used to how English sounds and feels. You'll also notice that your confidence grows with every story you read because, unlike memorizing rules, you're learning how to use the language in a way that feels comfortable and natural. Now, you might be thinking, but how can I start? What kind of stories should I read? The good news is that you don't have to look far. Simple graded readers are a great place to begin. These are stories designed specifically for learners, with clear language, easy to understand vocabulary, and natural sentence structures. They're perfect for anyone who wants to build their English speaking skills step by step. Ali's journey didn't happen overnight, but with patience and practice, he went from feeling unsure to speaking confidently. The beauty of learning through stories is that it's a fun and enjoyable way to learn. You're not just memorizing vocabulary, you're experiencing the language in a meaningful way. And the more you practice, the more you'll start to feel comfortable speaking English in real-life situations, just like Ali did. So, if you're someone who struggles with speaking English and feels unsure about how to improve, take a page from Ali's story. Start with simple stories, practice speaking them aloud, and gradually, you'll see your confidence grow. Whether you're learning for personal reasons, work, or travel, speaking English correctly is something that anyone can achieve with the right tools and mindset. By the end of this video, you'll know how to use stories to boost your English skills, just like Ali did. You'll learn not just vocabulary and grammar but also how to make your speech sound natural, how to pronounce words correctly, and how to build your speaking confidence. Stay with me until the end of the video, and you'll leave with the tools and tips to start speaking English with confidence, one story at a time. Let's dive in and start this exciting learning journey together. Nadia, just like many learners out there, tried everything to improve her English. She studied grammar rules, memorized new vocabulary, and spent hours watching videos and listening to podcasts in English. But despite all her efforts, something was still missing. Every time she had to speak, she found herself struggling to put the words together. Nadia could understand English just fine when she read or listened to it, but when it came to speaking, she felt stuck. She would rehearse conversations in her head, but once she actually tried to speak, her mind would go blank. The words didn't come out the way she wanted them to, and her sentences sounded unnatural. It was frustrating. She kept asking herself, "Why can't I speak like I understand?" Her friends noticed her struggle too. Whenever they spoke in English, they would gently correct her pronunciation. While they meant well, it only made Nadia feel more self-conscious. Every time they pointed out a mistake, it added to her doubts. She began to feel discouraged, as if she would never be able to speak English correctly. Maybe I'm just not good at it, she thought. This cycle of trying hard and then feeling let down by her own performance made Nadia lose confidence. She would avoid speaking in English whenever possible, and even when she had the chance, she would second-guess herself, worried about making mistakes. It seemed like no matter how much effort she put into learning, her speaking skills were always a step behind. Maybe you can relate to Nadia's experience. Have you ever worked hard at learning something, only to feel like you're not getting the results you want? Have you ever practiced your pronunciation or grammar but still felt unsure about speaking? If you have, you're not alone. These are common challenges that many English learners face. It's easy to feel discouraged when you've put in so much effort, but the results don't seem to match your hard work. Nadia's story is a reminder that learning a language isn't always a smooth road. Sometimes, you'll hit bumps, and that's perfectly normal. The key is not to give up, and to understand that learning English, especially speaking it fluently, is a journey that takes time and patience. Nadia, like you, needed to find a way to overcome these struggles, and that's where stories came in. In the next part of this video, I'll show you how Nadia finally turned her struggle around and how you can do the same. Stay tuned because we're going to explore the power of stories in learning English and how they can help you overcome the very challenges Nadia faced. One afternoon, as Nadia was feeling especially frustrated after yet another conversation where she struggled to find the right words, she met an old teacher at a local cafe. This teacher, Mrs. Thompson, had taught English for many years and was known for her unique approach to learning. Seeing the worry in Nadia's eyes, Mrs. Thompson asked her what was going on. Nadia explained her struggles, feeling defeated by her inability to speak English confidently. Mrs. Thompson listened carefully and then smiled kindly, saying, "Nadia, you're not alone in this. Everyone goes through what you're feeling. But I want to share a secret with you. Learning English isn't about memorizing grammar rules or vocabulary lists. The best way to learn English is through stories." Nadia looked puzzled. "Stories?" she asked. "How can stories help me speak better?" Mrs. Thompson leaned forward and explained, "Stories give you the language and context. When you read or listen to stories, you're not just learning individual words or sentences. You're learning how to use the language in real-life situations. Stories teach you the rhythm and flow of conversation, the natural way people speak. And most importantly, they make learning fun and engaging." Intrigued by the idea, Nadia decided to give it a try. The next day, she picked up a graded reader of a simple, easy-to-understand story designed for learners and began reading aloud. At first, it felt awkward. But as she continued, something amazing started to happen. She began to hear the patterns in the language. The way sentences were structured, how the words flowed together naturally. It was like a light bulb had gone off in her mind. Nadia started to practice speaking these sentences aloud, mimicking the characters' conversations. The more she read, the more comfortable she felt. Her pronunciation improved because she could hear the words in the context of the story, and her confidence grew as she spoke aloud. The key moment came when Nadia noticed she wasn't just reading words on a page anymore. She was actually speaking the language, expressing herself more naturally. It felt as though she had unlocked a new way of learning that made her feel connected to the language, instead of just memorizing rules and phrases. What happened to Nadia is what can happen to you too. Stories are not only enjoyable to read, but they are also a powerful tool for improving your speaking skills. They immerse you in the language, providing context and allowing you to practice pronunciation, sentence structure, and even cultural nuances, all without the pressure of traditional learning methods. So, if you're feeling like Nadia once did, struggling to speak English fluently, it's time to give storytelling a try. Stories are an incredible way to learn, and they offer the chance to practice speaking in a way that's both effective and enjoyable. Let's explore how you can use stories to improve your English skills, just like Nadia did. Nadia was determined to improve, so she decided to follow the advice from her teacher and dive into the world of stories. She took it one step at a time, breaking down her learning into small, manageable parts. Here's how she went about it. Nadia's first step was to pick up a graded reader. These are stories written specifically for learners, with easy language and simple sentences. She started with very short stories that weren't too complicated. At first, many of the words were new to her, and she felt unsure about the meaning of some of them. But Nadia remembered what Mrs. Thompson had told her: "Don't worry about understanding every single word. Focus on the story and the overall meaning." While reading, Nadia also listened to the story being read aloud, either from an audio version or by reading along herself. Listening helped her understand the rhythm of the language and the pronunciation of words. She started to repeat the sentences out loud, trying to mimic the way the characters spoke. At first, it felt strange, but Nadia kept going, knowing this practice would help her speak more naturally. Nadia also began acting out parts of the story. She would imagine herself in the scenes, pretending to be one of the characters. This helped her remember the words and phrases better because she was connecting them to actions. For example, when a character in the story was surprised, Nadia would raise her eyebrows and use the tone of voice that matched the character's feelings. This made learning more fun and helped her remember not just the words, but the context in which to use them. To make things less overwhelming, Nadia broke the stories into smaller sections. She would read one paragraph at a time, focus on the new words, and then practice saying those words aloud. She didn't rush. Instead, she made sure to fully understand each part before moving on. With each small step, Nadia became more confident in her ability to read and speak. After finishing a story, Nadia didn't just forget about it. She would go back and review the key sentences and phrases. By repeating these stories, she reinforced what she had learned and became more familiar with the vocabulary. This repetition helped her become more comfortable with the language and made her pronunciation sound smoother. As Nadia grew more confident with reading and speaking, she started using the new words and phrases she had learned in her daily life. When talking to her friends or family, she would use simple sentences from the stories she read. At first, she still felt a bit nervous, but because she had practiced so much with the stories, it started to feel natural. Her conversations became easier, and her speaking confidence grew. Nadia continued reading more stories, gradually picking up longer ones as her skills improved. Each new story introduced her to new words, phrases, and expressions, and she made it a habit to practice regularly. Learning through stories wasn't just helping her speak better English, it was making the entire process enjoyable. The more she read, the more she discovered how much she enjoyed learning this way. Step by step, Nadia was able to improve her speaking skills. She didn't try to rush the process. Instead, she embraced the small victories of understanding new words, speaking them aloud, and using them in conversation. Before long, speaking English started to feel like second nature. By following these steps, you too can start your journey to speaking English more confidently. Stories provide a relaxed and enjoyable way to learn, and with patience and practice, you'll see progress just like Nadia did. At the beginning, Sarah's journey wasn't easy. She made a lot of mistakes. Sometimes, she would stumble over words or get nervous about saying something wrong. There were moments when she felt frustrated, wondering if she would ever speak confidently. But with each story she read, Nadia slowly began to see progress. At first, her pronunciation wasn't perfect. There were times when her friends couldn't quite understand what she was saying, and that made her self-conscious. But instead of giving up, Nadia kept practicing. She would listen to the story again and again, repeating the words until they sounded just right. Each time she repeated a sentence or acted out a scene, her voice became clearer and her pronunciation improved. As weeks passed, Nadia began to notice a change. She was no longer as afraid to speak English. Her confidence grew with each story she completed. She felt more comfortable using the new words she had learned, even when speaking to her friends. One day, she decided to try something bold. She read a short story aloud to her friends. At first, she was nervous, but as she continued, she could see the surprise and admiration in their eyes. They were amazed at how much her English had improved, and they praised her for her hard work and determination. Nadia couldn't help but smile. This was proof that all her practice had paid off. She realized that learning English wasn't about being perfect. It was about making progress, no matter how small. Every time she practiced, she was moving forward. And the more she practiced, the more comfortable she became speaking English, until it was no longer a struggle. Nadia's improvement didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual process, but it was worth the effort. With each new story, she grew more confident in her speaking ability. She could now hold conversations with ease, and even though she still made occasional mistakes, she no longer feared them. In fact, Nadia saw mistakes as part of the learning process. Each mistake was just a step toward getting better. By staying consistent and practicing regularly, Nadia learned that English wasn't something to be afraid of. It was a journey that required time, patience, and persistence. Through the magic of stories, she discovered how to speak English correctly, and she knew that, just like her, anyone could do it too. By the end of the year, Nadia had transformed. She wasn't just speaking English more correctly, she had become confident in her ability to communicate. Nadia's journey proved to her that learning a language doesn't have to be stressful or overwhelming. Through consistent practice, listening, and most importantly, enjoying stories, she had unlocked the power to speak English fluently. Nadia learned that the key to mastering English or any language isn't about perfection. It's about taking small steps, practicing regularly, and being patient with yourself. Mistakes were no longer something to fear, but rather a natural part of the learning process. With stories, Nadia had found a way to learn that was both fun and effective. Her story is a reminder to all of us that progress comes with time and persistence. Whether you're a beginner or someone refining your skills, learning English through stories can help you gain the vocabulary, confidence, and pronunciation needed to speak fluently. So, just like Nadia, if you stay dedicated and practice consistently, you too will improve your English and reach your language goals. Just like Nadia, you can improve your English by using stories as a tool for learning. Here's how you can apply the same steps she took to your own journey. Begin with short and easy to understand stories. The simpler, the better. This will help you focus on learning words and phrases that you can use in everyday conversations. Don't just read silently. Practice speaking the sentences out loud, paying attention to pronunciation. Hearing yourself speak will help you recognize and correct mistakes faster. Notice how words and phrases are used in context within the story. This helps you understand not just what the words mean, but how they fit into real conversations. After reading, try to speak the sentences on your own. Don't worry about making mistakes. Mistakes are a natural part of the learning process, and each one is a chance to improve. Like Nadia, the key to progress is consistency. Practice a little every day, and over time, you'll see great improvements in your fluency. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's the biggest challenge you face when learning English? Is it pronunciation, building your vocabulary, or something else? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be happy to offer more tips or help you out in any way I can. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with friends who are also looking to improve their English. Keep practicing, and remember, learning English is a journey, not a race. Stay consistent, and you'll see progress, just like Nadia. I'll see you in the next video. As we wrap up today's lesson, I want to leave you with one important message. No matter where you are in your English journey, the key to success is practice and consistency. Just like Nadia, you can improve your speaking skills step by step. Learning English may take time, but with regular practice, patience, and dedication, you will see incredible progress. Remember, every small effort counts. The more you practice, the more confident you will become, and the easier speaking English will feel. Keep going, stay motivated, and enjoy the process because every day you're getting better. Thanks for watching and subscribing to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Keep practicing and keep believing in yourself.